Okay, so today we are going to talk about the world of historical linguistics. And what historical linguistics is looking at languages and their development and how they're related to each other from a past perspective. So, what you would see here is um, multiple words translated in different languages. So here we have English, Ancient Greek, Latin, and Sanskrit. And Sanskrit is a now extinct language that was in modern day India and is the like the language that the modern day Indian languages like Hindi are descended from. Okay, so we have words here, so like foot, father, fool, and fire. And as you would see here, they look very similar to each other in the Greek, ancient Greek, Latin, and Sanskrit. So Greek pedos, Latin pedis, and Sanskrit pod, pater, pater, petir, pleos, plenus, perna, per, and pier in Umbrian, which is a another Italian language that is very closely related to Latin. So the question is, why are these languages so similar? Why are these words such heavy cognates? What we can derive from this is that all of these languages here are derived from one big mother language that is known as today as, or known to historical linguistics as Proto-Indo-European. So the guy given the credit for noticing the similarities in all these languages is William Jones, who was a British judge in for the East India Company in the British Empire. So basically what he says here is that like he was studying the Sanskrit language to try to get a similar idea of like the Indian culture, and he noticed that they had noticed the exact same thing that we just went over, that has very similar connections to Latin, ancient Greek, and English, all of the languages that he was familiar with from schooling in England. So what we can see here is the family tree of Proto-Indo-European. So we have the Germanic languages that split off of the European. Germanic here, Romance, Slavic, Celtic, Indo-Iranian, Iranian, Indic, Bengali, Hindi up here, Spanish, English, German. All of these languages are derived from this one mother language. So how do we group these languages that we've seen before? Like, how do we know what is called a Germanic language and what's called a Romance language? And the answer to that would be these shared innovations that we see. So what we'd see here is these same words like foot, fus, fotis, and Gothic, which is a Germanic language but now extinct. Father, vater, fader. And what we could see here is that the beginnings to all these words start with like an F sound, like an F pronunciation. I know that these are V's, but they're pronounced more like an F. If we would go back here, we'd see that these are started with a P. These older languages start with a P. So what we can derive is that for the Germanic, the P switched to an F sound in these very similar words. And that is how we can tell what is a Germanic language as opposed to other languages that are descended from Proto-Indo-European. And another concept that we will go over is how do we determine like a mother word? How do we can actually go back and determine the words, the actual words. Well, we have a very good guess of what the actual words of Proto-Indo-European were. So the words that we get from the words that are descended from the words. So how we do that is we take a look at all of these descended, these daughter languages. So Old English bear, Sanskrit bar, Gothic bear, and Ancient Greek pair, which are all translations for the verb to bear in modern day English. And what we can tell is that the language that all these are descended from probably started with a B sound and ended with an R and had a vowel in the middle. So what we can construct here is that the Proto-Indo-European word for to bear was bear.